Hi guys, in this video we're going to make a Snow White cake. So I'm going to cut out my picture. Now this is a little face mask that you can buy, but I didn't want to cut out the face mask, so I just printed off or copied a picture of it. And I'll put a link in the description box below the video as to where you can find the face masks. And the face just wants to be a similar size to your cake. It can be slightly smaller but it doesn't want to be bigger. So my board is a little bit bigger than the face that I've cut out. I think it's an 8-inch board, and the board is the same size as the cake, so I'm putting a bit of buttercream in the middle, not all the way to the edges for this one. And then I'll add my cake, a little bit of buttercream in the middle, and then the top layer on. It's up to you how tall you want to make the cake. I wouldn't go too tall with this design though. And I'll put a recipe for the cake in the description box below the video. So my face is just a little bit smaller than my 8-inch cake, and I'm going to cut all the way around the edge with the knife, following the line of the face. So taking your face, we're going to cut it into sections. So I'm just going to cut off her hair, little side pieces first. We'll use black for the hair. And I'm going to put a layer of buttercream over the cake that we've just cut out now, on the top and down the sides, fully covering it so that when we stick the fondant it will stick nicely to it. So we're going to use black as the base one, and I've got a ready dyed black here, which just saves me having to dye it myself because it's quite messy. So press that on lightly all the way around, just give it a firm rub down with your fingers, and we're going to cut off the edges, and it looks a little bit like Darth Vader at the moment. And I'm just giving it a push in at those bottom edges where the edge of the hair sort of comes to. And I'm going to use a skin tone on just some normal white fondant to create the face. Now I'm afraid I didn't press record the first time I did it, so I'm just repeating it here. So we've rolled it thin, and we're just going to cut out around the shape of the face like that. And then you're going to stick that in the centre of your cake, like so. Apologies that there is already one stuck on. So I'm going to cut out the eyes now, so that I've got the shape that I need for them. And I've cut out sort of the eyelids with the shape of the eye. Just give it a light press down. You can use a modelling tool or your finger, just so I know whereabouts to position them when they go on. So I'll just do the same with the other eye. And then I'm going to poke 2 little holes where our nostrils are, again just for guidelines. And then what I'm going to do is sort of press down under the nostrils with my modelling tool so that the dint comes from under the nose. And then we're going to bring it round to the sides, creating larger nostrils and sort of creating a little nose. This time we'll remove the mouth, and I'm just going to use my modelling tool to put a little line around where the mouth goes, again just for guidance so that I know where to add the fondant when I stick it on. And we're going to give her a little bit of pink. It does look like I'm using blusher, but I promise I'm not. So I've just got a large brush, keeping it dry, and we're just adding some edible pink powder to that. Again, I'll put links in the description box. We just want a small thin piece of white for a teeth that's going to go right in the centre of that mouth that we marked out. And then we're going to take a bit of pink or red, either's fine. I've got a cherry red on this one. And we're going to stick the bottom lip across, do the same for the top, where it's a little bit thicker in the middle, nice and thin and pointy at either end, and push that on nice and firmly. So make sure it goes to a point at either end of the mouth, or either corner of the mouth. And then we're just going to sort of try and pull it down in the centre just a little bit. And then with the modelling tool, give it a little bit of a dint in the centre of the top for your cupid's bow. And now we're going to cut out some more pieces of the hair, the little front fringe pieces. And we're just going to make pieces of the same. Now, if you don't cut them out, it's fine. You don't have to cut them out. I just found it easier to cut them out so I knew what shape to make in my fondant. And then we're going to put that on the actual cake itself. So I've left quite a chunky piece of fondant on there for her hair. And we'll do the same for the other side. If you're not sure where it's going to go, just give it a bit of a mark on around your template, and then add the piece of fondant. And I'm just checking I've got the right amount of space left. And I'm going to cut out the bow, put that in place, and again just a quick mark around with the modelling tool so that when I add the red I know that I'm adding it in the right place. So we want a small strip for the headband. Bring it to a point at either end and sort of tuck that point just behind those fringe pieces that you've added. And again I'm just going to trim out the bow, marking around it for where I want the bow to actually sit. And again, we're using the fondant, it's the cherry red one, to create pieces that are the same shape as the bow. So it's a bit of a triangle shape. And then you can use your modelling tool to sort of press in the centre of it to create a bit of an indentation. And you do the same for the other side of the bow. And then we're just going to have a little, not quite a circle, slightly squared off for the centre of the bow. And we'll push that in place. Now for her eyebrows, I'm just sort of cutting out a little line so that I can poke my modelling tool through them easily. And I'm just putting another line at the bottom of the eye so I can see exactly where to put the eye when I stick it in. So it's just a slight mark that I can use for guidelines. And I'm brushing a little bit of water, or you can use edible glue on in place. And we want a long thin piece of fondant for the eyebrow. And follow the guidelines that you've put on with the tool. And do the same for the other one. And cut around those eyes that you cut out earlier. A little bit of water to stick them in place. And just make sure they are in the same area that you've marked off. And now I'm going to cut out the white bit like that. And I'm going to score over the edge of that so it marks on where the eyelid would be. And do that on both. And then I'm using a large round sort of plunger cutter to pop in 2 circles. So I've just pushed an indent in for those circles. And now we've got a smaller plunger cutter, which we want 2 black circles from. So quite thin black, and these are going to go in the centre of those indentations that you've just made. And then we're going to use a little bit of brown food colouring now to paint into that circle. You can go quite light at first, and then if you keep it a little bit thicker around the very edges, it'll just give you a slightly darker line on the edge. So we're using a bit of a chestnut brown on there for her eyes, like that. 2 small round balls of white fondant, and one of those wants to go in each eye. And then we need to add her eyelids. So back to your flesh colour that you were using earlier, and roll a small sort of sausage shape, but roll it to a point at either end, and we're going to place that over the tops of her eyes. And then we need to give her eyelashes, so we're going to go back to the black, push that in place. Nice long thin piece. Anything extra can just be sliced off the end. And then we're going to roll some tiny, tiny pieces for eyelashes, and these are just going to attach to the black piece that you've just added. 3 or 4 should be okay. You don't need to add loads. And exactly the same for the other eye. And that's it. There she's all complete. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video and would like to see more, please click on the images of the other videos suggested. Also, please do subscribe to my channel using the button at the bottom right hand corner of the screen. You can also visit my cake website and my Facebook page to see more cakes and ideas.